Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto uncovers his true potential. One discussion in the academy introduces Naruto to his first real friends and changes his life forever. Together, they will work hard, push each other, and unlock their true potential. Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel, and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 5, Team Formation. From this day forward, you are all Genin of Konoha. As one of your academy teachers, I just want to let you all know how proud I am of you. Irika admitted to the class with a smile on his face. You've all done excellent in your studies and training. I believe with all my heart that this may be one of the finest classes Konoha has ever produced, and I can't wait to see what extraordinary shinobi you all become. Nearly every student in the classroom smiled at their now former sensei's words. Naruto was grinning more than anyone else, however. Finally, I really am a ninja now. Finally, he thought to himself excitedly. Now, I'm going to start reading off the team names. Pay attention carefully, cause I will not repeat. Irika informed everyone. Now, Team 1. Everyone tried hard to pay attention to Irika's words. It proved too difficult, however, to listen to every name that was called. Everyone seemed to only notice when their name was called or when their friends were called. Now Team 3. Irika continued reading. Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto lifted up his head and started to pay attention. Hyuga Hinata. The Chunin continued. Yes. Naruto cheered inwardly, grinning even larger. I at least got one of my friends on my team. And it's Hinata of all people. This is amazing, Databeo. Hinata's thoughts were less coherent, but even more excited. Naruto-kun and I are on the same team? Naruto-kun and I are on the same team. He's on my team. Her mind repeated the same words over and over again, each time getting faster and louder. Her thoughts were a strong contrast to her outward reaction, which was merely a silent, but large, smile and a rather red blush. And Nara Shikamaru. Irika concluded. Hell yeah. Naruto couldn't hold in his thoughts any longer. The top 3 shinobi here. We are so going to kick ass. Naruto Baka, shut up. Some of us are trying to concentrate here. Sakura shouted, not trying to hide her annoyance. Naruto really didn't care that she insulted him, he was just too happy. He was on a team with Hinata and Shikamaru. This was everything he had hoped for. We really are going to be the best damn team in Konoha, Databeo. Hinata, too, was pleased at this revelation. Although she was still more excited about being partnered up with Naruto, she really did like Shikamaru. He became a great and important friend to her, and their friendship was growing each day. She was excited to know that he would be joining her and Naruto on the same team. Shikamaru, although pleased, was very shocked at the team's reveal. I could have sworn they would have put me on a team with Chuji and Ino. Our parents' teamwork was legendary, and our parents even mentioned talking to Hokage-sama about purposely recreating the team through us. Not that I'm going to complain. I work well with Naruto and Hinata. Just wondering, what could have changed his mind? When the classroom got quiet again, Irika continued reading names. Naruto failed to pay attention until his sensei got to Team 7. Team 7, Inuzuka Kiba, Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke. He read off. Sakura's scream of joy could have been heard a mile from the academy. Ino's roar in disapproval could be heard just as far. The prick and the fangirl? Just my frickin' luck. Kiba groaned loudly. Once again, Irika waited for class to quiet down before he continued to read. Naruto, once again, failed to pay attention to his names. He only paid attention to the last team Irika read off. Team 10, Yamanaka Ino, Akimichi Kuji, and Aburame Shino. Irika concluded. What the hell? Not only am I not with Sasuke-kun, but I'm put with Food Boy and Bug Boy? Ino complained loudly. She couldn't believe that these team assignments happened. Chuji. Shikamaru mumbled sadly, turning to face his best friend sitting next to him. Chuji gave his friend a sad smile. He was happy that Shikamaru got to be on a team with their other friends, but Chuji was a little upset he didn't get to be with him. He was also saddened that he didn't get to be with anyone he considered a friend with as well. It also hurt that Ino was complaining about being on the same team with him. I'm sorry, Chuji-kun. Hinata apologized to him, noticing his discomfort. Yeah, I really wish we could be a four-man squad. Naruto added, frowning as well. He was originally so happy about his team, but he felt bad now knowing that Chuji was left out and on a team that he wasn't going to like. No, it's okay. Chuji told them all. He stayed quiet for a second before coming up with a silver lining. You know, Shino's kind of quiet. He might be really nice when I get him to talk. He probably is. Maybe you can get him to join our group. Naruto declared, his frown turning upwards. Chuji was right, in his mind. Shino could be a pretty cool guy, and it would be nice to have another friend to hang with. Shino-san is peopleite. Hinata told him. And smart. He probably rivals you, Shikamaru. The blonde added, taunting his friend. The Nara shrugged in response before turning his attention back to Chuji. You want to meet up after all of this? Cloud watching or something? He asked. Chuji's smile turned more genuine again. He knew that being separated from his friends wasn't going to end their friendship. Shikamaru's offer reminded him of that. The Akimichi nodded in response, accepting his friend's invitation. Irika, after a verbal spar with Ino, quieted down the classroom with a cough. Well, now that you all know your teams, you are free to take an hour break for lunch. You will come back here to meet up with your Jonin-sensei. You are dismissed for now. Irika informed the students. All of the academy graduates nodded in response to their sensei's words. They all immediately got up and started to walk out of the room. Don't leave just yet, you little brats. A voice called out to them. All students turned around and faced the front. They turned around in time to see a black banner fly through one of the academy windows. When the banner reached the center of the room, a figure jumped out and threw kunai at its edges, pinning it to the floor and the ceiling. The entire banner could now be seen, and the words "the sexiest and strongest sensei in all of Konoha" could be read on it. In front of the banner was the figure. She was a purple-haired woman who tied her hair up in a spiky ponytail. She was wearing a large tan coat over a fishnet undershirt and an orange skirt. She also had a pendant worn around her neck and was also wearing shin guards. You're all looking at the sensei to Team 3, Mitarashi Anko. The woman introduced herself to everyone, a large, almost insane grin on her face. Now Uzumaki Naruto, Hyuga Hinata, and Nara Shikamaru. Come here. We will begin our meeting and discuss protocol. Let's go. The room fell into a deathly silence. Pretty much every student was gawking at the woman standing in front of them in surprise, annoyance, or fear. Hinata couldn't help but fall in the last category. She's very confident and intimidating and... Oh boy. Naruto looked at the woman, unsure of what to think. She seems kind of weird. And annoying. But she's kind of cool and awesome, I guess. Naruto continued to wrestle down between the two ideas of the woman before he finally settled on one. Guess she is pretty cool. That was a flashy entrance databao. I'd probably do something like that if I had a genin team. Shikamaru's thoughts were extremely simple compared to the others. This woman, troublesome. Very, very, very troublesome. Anko-san? You do realize that the genin are allowed a lunch break of an hour, right? The meeting with their sensei isn't till that is over. Irika mentioned nervously. The purple-haired woman immediately sweat dropped in response to Irika's words. Well, I decided I was going to take my kids out to lunch instead. It would kill two birds with one stone, their lunch break and our meeting. And it would be a good way to get to know them. So yeah. She laughed nervously. Irika's sweat dropped as well in response to her statement. Very well. He told her. Team 3, you will go to lunch with your sensei. Everyone else, meet up here in an hour. Awesome. Anko cheered, relieved that she was off the hook for arriving early. Now, come here brats. Lunch is waiting. The woman immediately ran out of the room, hurrying outside. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru followed closely behind. The Uzumaki was excited at the offer of a free lunch, and was excited that his sensei seemed awesome. The Hyuga heiress still felt nervous and intimidated by her sensei. And the Nara heir. This is going to be an extremely troublesome time. Shikamaru sighed, already feeling the headache forming. Mitarashi Anko dragged her new Genin squad to Dangoya, a dango and sweets restaurant located near the academy. The second the four walked into the restaurant, a waiter escorted them to a spot that was reserved for Anko and any company she brings to the restaurant. After he took the orders of Anko and her squad, the four were left alone. The three genin were staring at their sensei in silence, waiting for her to begin the conversation about the team. Anko didn't notice the attention of her students, however. Her mind was too focused on the scent of the dango shop around her. I love the smell of dango in the afternoon. Anko thought, slight drool coming out of her mouth. Sensei? Naruto finally broke the silence. What? What do you want, brat? The woman snapped at him. Shouldn't you be going over team protocol and stuff now? I mean, that's what you said we'd be doing. Shikamaru pointed out to her with a yawn. I should be. Anko thought to herself with a sigh. Fine, let's begin already. Let's get this over with before our food gets out. The three genin nodded at her words, still staring at their sensei. So, let's start with introducing ourselves to each other. Anko stated excitedly. We already know each other. Very well, I might add. Shikamaru told her with a shrug. But I don't know you guys, smart ass. The purple-haired woman rolled her eyes in response. Introduce yourselves to me then. Tell me about yourselves. What do you want to know as sensei? Hinata asked nervously. She was still intimidated by her new sensei. Your life story. Every detail. Don't lie to me about anything in it. She deadpanned in response, getting into the heiress's face. Hinata's eyes widened in surprise, and let out a quiet eep. Anko heard the noise and started to laugh loudly. No need to freak out or anything. Just messing with ya. She laughed. How about this? Tell me your name, things you like and dislike, hobbies, dreams, that kind of stuff. Just your basic shit. Why not you go first? Okay. Hinata replied back, pointing her index fingers together. And my name is Hyuga Hinata. I like spending tea time with my friends. And, Hinata started. At this point, she grew a slight blush and turned her head slightly in Naruto's general direction. I also like cinnamon rolls. I dislike people who are rude to others and some of my clan's traditions. My hobbies are tea training and spending time with my friends and flower pressing. My dream, I wouldn't mind having a family one day. Hinata's blush grew exponentially at this comment as she took another look at Naruto. A few seconds after, her blush died down completely and her eyes gained more focus. But before that, I want to be a strong clan head and ninja tea that can fix the problems in the Hyuga clan. She's totally crushing on the Jinchuriki. But she seems to still be a capable kunoichi from her dream and stuff. Thank God she's not a fangirl. Anko silently praised. But she is different than most Hyuga members though. She has like zero confidence whatsoever. That'll need to get fixed ASAP if she wants to achieve her goal. Well, thanks a lot Stutters-chan. Anko told her with a smile. As Stutters-chan? Hinata repeated the name. You are stuttering really badly, so that's what I'm going to call you from now on until you don't stutter. She explained, her smile not faltering. Hey! Don't make fun of Hinata-chan. She's just probably intimidated by how weird you are. Naruto shouted at the woman, defending his friend. Ah, be quiet Whiskers. Anko shrugged. On second thought, keep talking. It's your turn. Whiskers? Naruto repeated with a scowl. Don't you know our names? I do, but I like giving nicknames, especially to little bratty genin who don't follow orders. She replied with a smirk. So, your turn Whiskers. Naruto scowled once again, but decided to just get his intro out of the way. My name's Uzumaki Naruto. I like spending time with my friends, training with the Nara clan, and learning new jutsu. I also like ramen, especially miso ramen. I hate the time it takes for ramen to cool down and arrogant bastards who think they are better than everyone else like Sasuke team. My hobbies are training, pranking people, and gardening. And my dream is to become the greatest Hokage. That way I can earn the people's respect in this village and not be looked down on like I'm something else. Earn the people's respect? Looked down as something else? Anko frowned as she remained in thought. She felt she could understand and relate to the boy. If she were to be completely honest, she might even say that he reminds her of himself to an extent. I'll probably have a one-on-one conversation with him at some point about some things if I end up becoming his sensei. Thanks. Anko replied after shaking herself from her thoughts. She then turned to the final kid. Now you. Shikamaru sighed in complaint, giving no response. Say something about yourself for my sake. Seriously. Anko shouted at him. Troublesome. The boy finally mumbled, giving another sigh. Name's Nara Shikamaru. I like being with my friends and doing things that don't require much effort. I don't like doing most things and things I find really troublesome. Hobbies are cloud watching, stargazing, playing shogi and sleeping. My dream is to become an average ninja, and have a wife that's neither pretty nor ugly, and have 2 kids, a daughter and a son. I'll retire when my children become successful shinobi of their own and live the rest of my days playing shogi and watching clouds until the day I die, before my wife. Anko stared at the boy in shock. She stayed in silent thought for a few seconds before her eyes narrowed on him. Lazy ass. She declared. Shikamaru, who had expected to get the same thanks that Hinata and Naruto got, was shocked by her words. What? You complained about doing this intro for me, you hate doing things with effort, and your dream is one of the most boring and average things I've ever heard. I'm calling you as I see you, a lazy ass. Naruto couldn't help himself from falling over in his seat in laughter. Hinata barely stifled her giggles. Shikamaru only shrugged in response, mumbling something about a troublesome woman. Well, since you all introduced yourselves, it's only fair I do the same. Listen well brats. Anko started. I'm Mitarashi Anko, a Tokubetsu Jonin, the second in command in the Torture and Investigation Department, and your sensei. I like dango tea, traveling, training, and working at the TNI department. I dislike spicy foods and the fangirl kunoichi who give kunoic a bad name. I also hate a certain snake I've met in my life. My hobbies include hosting tea ceremonies, training my ass off, and torturing. And my dream, well, I have 3 actually. First is to kill that snake I mentioned. Second is to make sure I can keep my friends safe and protected. And third is just simply enjoy life. All 3 of the genin stared at their sensei. They all seemed to have different reactions to the parts in her introduction. They were curious about this snake and who he was. They thought she was pretty thoughtful with her other two dreams. They were also terrified that she admitted that torturing was one of her hobbies and that she was technically a professional in the art. Well, now that we know each other, let's get straight to the business part. The purple-haired woman broke them out of their thoughts. All three started to pay attention to her again. Now, I hate to do this to you guys, but I have to break it to you, you aren't genin yet. What? That's a load of crap, Databayo. Naruto shouted. We passed the stupid test, so that makes us genin. That test is bullshit. She laughed in response. It's like a pre-test to make sure you guys are good enough to be genin. Whatever. Basically, tomorrow you all have to take another test that has a 33% pass rate. Fail and get sent back to the academy. All three members of Team 3 had wide eyes at these words. Shikamaru was groaning about the thought of another test, Hinata was worried about failing and disappointing her father, and Naruto was scared of not being able to become a genin. Anko seemed completely oblivious to her students' frustrations. As soon as she informed them of the second test, the waiter came back with a plate of dango. The Tokubetsu Jonin was currently drooling and giving nothing else a thought. Food's here. Yes. She shouted in joy as the plates were put on the table. Let's leave the test discussion until after we finish lunch. The purple-haired woman didn't wait for her students to respond. She immediately started to chow down on the dango on her plate. All three of her genin watched their sensei eat rapidly in shock. That's just like me with ramen. Naruto noted with shock. Hinata and Shikamaru seemed to notice the comparison as well, as they looked back and forth between their sensei and their friend. When lunch was over, Anko told the students to meet her at Training Ground 17 tomorrow at 8 o'clock for their second exam. After that, she left to go to work at the torture and interrogation department. A couple of screaming victims later, Anko was brought a bar by the head of the department, her partner in crime, and good friend Marino Ibiki. The two made an effort to go out drinking once a week after work and both felt they deserved a drink or two. I swear, sometimes the job isn't even fun anymore. They give in way too easily. Anko complained as she chugged down the rest of the sake in her bottle. Remember that Mizuki guy from a day ago? Gave all the dirt on the snake bastard he was working with in 20 minutes. There really has been no challenge. At least we get the information Konoha needs for its safety. Ibiki replied, simply staring at his drink. Although, I would like someone tougher to break. Anko gave a smirk in response. That was one thing that bonded her and Ibiki together. The two had a slight sadistic side to them. So, should I be expecting to handle more cases on my own though for the time being? The head of the department asked, still staring at his drink. The purple-haired woman, who was currently getting another bottle of sake, turned to her partner and gave him a quizzical look. What do you mean, Ibiki? I've heard you've been assigned a genin team. He informs her. Oh. Yeah. Anko shrugs as she chugs her new drink. I don't know. Maybe they'll pass, maybe they won't. I'd prefer if they didn't. Your personal preferences don't really matter on if they pass or not. Ibiki reminded her, narrowing his eyes a little. I know that. I wouldn't fail the brats just 'cause I don't want a genin team. She shouted, a little louder than intended. It's just, I still don't know why Hokage-sama assigned me a team. Anko thought back to the conversation she had with the Sandame. At first, she was giving a simple mission report from a long-term mission she was on. He accepted it, but then changed the topic to the genin teams. He had informed her that he was planning on assigning her a team. Anko freaked out, stating that she would not be a good sensei to some random brats, and that she'd be better off spending her talents elsewhere. Nevertheless, the Hokage was very adamant about his decision. Apparently only she can accurately train each and every one of these students to their full potential. Yeah. The one person that can and will be stuck babysitting them is me? Bullshit, the Tokubetsu Jonin thought bitterly. It's not like you to doubt your own abilities, Anko. You seriously think you can't train them? Her superior asked her. Hell no. I got the talent and skills to train anybody. She fired back, starting to get a little irritated. It just feels weird. I would much rather spend my time doing something more productive for Konoha. Also, it's my first time as a sensei, and the only sensei I have ever had to use as a reference is him. Ibiki knew exactly who his coworker was referring to and sighed in response. Well, if the Hokage thinks it's a good decision, then it is. He must know more about them than you and must think you can help them become better shinobi for Konoha. Probably not a waste of time if that's right. Ibiki told her, finally taking a small sip from his bottle of sake. You won't make a bad team sensei either. Just teach them what you know, and let them do the rest. Let them become Konoha shinobi. You know I'm not really upset or anything, right? I don't really need comforting. Anko mumbled in response as she took another chug of sake. Still, thanks. Appreciate it. Although it's weird to see you trying to help someone. Getting soft, Biki-kun? Ibiki scowled at the nickname and Anko's words. Not at all. I'm trying to get you to take the team. Perhaps if you aren't working at the department, I'll get more victims to myself, and maybe I'll get one that'll be fun to break down. Ibiki informed her with a smirk. If that happens, I'll be joining you still. Can't leave me out of all the fun. She responded with a laugh before picking up her bottle. Anko downed the rest of her sake and got another bottle. She decided then and there to stop thinking about the genin team. She lied, she was frustrated about being assigned a team and was confused on what to do. Ibiki did help out a little though, and she appreciated it. I'll deal with them later. If they pass, they pass. Then I'll just learn and be a kick-ass sensei. Anko declared mentally as she raised her new bottle, as if toasting to her idea. But for now, screw them. I'm just going to enjoy my sake. She enjoyed it indeed. After waking up, Hinata got ready for the day as quickly as she possibly could. She was actually surprised that she even got any sleep at all. Her mind was completely focused on the second exam that Anko mentioned. Sensei never said too much about it. Only the time and place of it. I wonder what it could be on. Hinata contemplated as she finished collecting all of the weapons she may need for a test. When Hinata finished, she was almost ready to leave. She had already gotten dressed, prepared for the day, and had eaten breakfast. All that was left was to let her father know she was going out. It didn't take long before the Hyuga heiress left and arrived at her father's private study. As usual, Hyuga Hayashi was sitting at his desk, performing clan duties and paperwork, as if he had been doing them all night. Hinata. Her father greeted, not even looking up. Do you have something you wish to talk about? Don't stutter, don't stutter. Hinata muttered to herself as she took a deep breath. Although she was getting better, she still stuttered a lot when she was intimidated. Her father could be very intimidating. I have to leave now. I have a secondary test I need to take to be a G-Genin. Hinata informed him. Oh yes. The second test the Jonin sensei gives. The clan head noted as he looked up from his work and at his daughter. This reminds me, you failed to tell me who your team was composed of. Hinata poked her index fingers together. I'm with Nara Shikamaru and Uzumaki and Naruto. Our S-sensei is Mitarashi Anko. She's with the Nara Air and the QB vessel? Hayashi thought to himself. A random match. I know Hinata has been training sometimes with them, but their skill sets shouldn't match up. It would have been better for her to be on a tracking team. What was Hokage-sama thinking with this team? And under Mitarashi Anko? She has no experience with training. I see. He said aloud, not voicing most of his negative thoughts. Our e-exam is soon. May I be dismissed? Hinata asked. You may. Make sure to perform up to the Hyuga standards today, Hinata. Do not disappoint and fail the test. Hayashi informed her in a cold tone. Understood. Good day, father. His daughter responded before leaving. Hinata couldn't help but feel upset by her father's words. The way he said them made it seem like he doubted she would pass, that she would disappoint him and the Hyuga clan. These were doubts she had already placed on herself. While her father has let her know before of his little faith in her, hearing them again hurt badly. She could almost feel tears starting to form in her eyes when a thought occurred to her: she was not alone in taking the test. Naruto-kun and Shikamaru-kun are taking it with me. We all need to pass to be genin. That means, I can't fail. For their sake. She informed herself. Her eyes almost immediately cleared up and were filled with determination. Was she nervous? Yes. Did she have doubts in herself? Yes. Did she doubt her teammates? No. Was she wanting to disappoint them? Not a chance. Hinata felt the determination rise within to go against her doubts and help her friends. The Hyuga heiress hurried away from the clan compound as quickly as she could, ready to take on whatever Anko had planned for her and her friends. Mitarashi Anko, having never had a genin team assigned before, based most of her opinions on how they worked from the complaints she heard from her acquaintances. She heard many stories of the genin teams from hell that arrive ridiculously late to the training sessions and missions. Anko had heard so many of these stories that she was legitimately surprised that her 3 students were at the training ground at exactly 8 o'clock. Oh, looky here. You all are on time. Anko noted happily. That's good. I was afraid that at least Lazy S would be showing up late, 'cause he didn't want to get out of bed this morning. Naruto cracked up once more. Hinata didn't even try and hide her giggles. Shikamaru merely scowled in response. S-sensei, are you going to let us know what the test is now? Hinata asked when she stopped giggling. Oh? And you all are focused too and don't waste time? I like that. The Tokubetsu Jonin declared with a laugh. So, you all ready for this thing? All 3 kids nodded in response, with Hinata being the first one to nod. Okay, so basically, it's a survival training test. We are going to fight, the 3 of you against me. Anko told them. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru all looked at their sensei with wide eyes. Basically, I'm going to evaluate your skills and such through combat. We'll continue until I make a decision whether you guys should pass or not. She told them, cutting off any questions. To pass, there's only 2 things you guys have to do. The first thing impressed me. Don't hold back and show me what you are all capable of as Konoha shinobi. And you all better damn well be coming at me with the intent to kill, or I guarantee you'll fail. The 3 graduates nodded in understanding. What's the second? Hinata asked. Survive. The Tokubetsu Jonin deadpanned. The woman allowed some killing intent to be released with her words. All 3 genin had wide eyes at the feeling of her killing intent. It felt like nothing they had ever experienced, even during the fight with Mizuki. Anko noticed their reaction and burst into laughter. Oh, come on. Don't get all scared on me yet, brats. This isn't even near half the killing intent I'm capable of releasing, and this is also nowhere near the type you can feel on a battlefield. She said in between her laughter. She took a few seconds trying to compose herself before she spoke again, this time with a much more serious tone. So, are you all ready to begin? The students started to focus once again. They each tried to calm themselves down. Hinata, to Anko's surprise, was the first to recover completely. Why yes. Let's do this, Anko-sensei. Naruto and Shikamaru nodded in agreement with her words, having recovered themselves. Yeah, enough talking. We get it. So, let's do this thing, Databeo. We're ready. The blonde-haired Jinchuriki exclaimed excitedly. Good. Very good. Anko grinned sadistically in response. She bit at her thumb, causing it to bleed, and started doing hand signs. Then let's get this over with. Your true graduation exam starts now. Anko immediately slammed her hand down on the ground, causing it to erupt in smoke. All three genin pulled out a kunai and stared attentively, waiting for their sensei's first move. When the smoke cleared, to their surprise, Anko was no longer in sight. In her place, a giant camouflage-colored snake was curled up. The second it saw the three genin, it hissed and attacked. The snake moved faster than the genin could react. It slammed its large tail straight into the stomachs of each genin, sending them backwards and knocking the breath out of them. Damn, that hurt like hell. Naruto groaned as he pulled himself up. Well, what were you expecting? We're going up against a jonin after all. Shikamaru said, still out of breath, as he pulled himself up. He kept his eyes on the approaching snake. We need to be more careful. Hinata added quietly, getting up herself. The snake, seeing that the kids were starting to recover, struck again with its massive tail. This time, however, the genin had the chance to react. They activated the substitution jutsu in time, replacing themselves with nearby logs. They then moved further into the surrounding forest around the training ground, creating distance between them and the snake. Hinata took the time to activate her Byakugan to keep her eyes on the snake. The snake is trying to find our scent. It'll probably be here in soon, maybe a minute or two. Hinata noted, still focusing on the snake to see its movements. Just enough time to set up a trap. Naruto stated excitedly before turning to Shikamaru. You still have exploding tags on you, right, Shikamaru? Shikamaru nodded in response as he pulled out a few tags. The Nara, after a conversation with his parents, realized that explosive tags would be the perfect weapon for him to increase his offense plans. Explosive tags were a strong offensive weapon, but also were a tactical weapon. They could be used in a variety method as traps, or to set enemies into a deeper trap. Shikamaru grew attached to such a weapon and offensive strategy. Naruto was about to speak again about a strategy, but was cut off by his lazy friend. I'll set up tags for when the snake comes after us. We just need to lead into the trap, and then I'll activate the tags. After that, we just pound on it until it's taken out. Humph. It'll do. Naruto grumbled. Truthfully, his plan was pretty much identical to his genius friend. He was just irritated that his friend got to voice it first. It'll work. Good thinking, Shikamaru-kun. Hinata informed her friend. We should get them set up quickly. The snake seems to have found our scent. It's heading in our direction. Hinata's words caused Shikamaru to become completely focused. He sprung up quickly and immediately started scanning the surrounding area for the most opportune places to place his tags. He was able to set up 4 tags up in trees before he was interrupted by Hinata. It's here. It'll be out in the open in a second. Hinata shouted to her friend as she readied a kunai knife. Shikamaru immediately took out a kunai and waited in quiet as he waited for the first sign of movement from the snake. Naruto also made the hand sign for his favorite jutsu, the shadow clone jutsu. The snake soon pulled into the area, hissing. As soon as it arrived, Naruto activated his jutsu, and the area was soon filled with 15 clones. 5 of the clones immediately charged the snake, while the others waited near one of the locations of Shikamaru's exploding tags. Hinata jumped down from her place up in the trees to join Naruto and his clones. The snake didn't waste a second to attack the approaching clones. It moved forward and slammed its head forward, hitting one of the clones and causing it to disappear. The clones attempted to physically attack through kicking when they got close enough, but failed to do too much damage. The snake slammed its tail after the first hit, eliminating 2 more clones. It then swallowed the 2 remaining clones after they got too close to its mouth. The snake then turned its attention to Hinata, Naruto, and his clones. Hinata and all Narutos started to toss kunai from their position, attacking from a distance. The giant snake took a few hits before it was able to squirm away and start approaching the genin, its mouth wide open. Naruto and Hinata jumped out of the way in time. 7 of the clones there, however, were unable to get away and were subsequently eaten. The snake proceeded to turn around to find its prey again, only to be attacked by Hinata and the remaining clones. Hinata was trying to push the snake further back towards the tree through her palm strikes, while the clones were just piling damage with their fists. Anko's summon was pushed back from the assault, very close to a marked tree. It hissed angrily as it slammed its tail into the attackers. The remaining clones were dispersed and Hinata was sent flying towards another tree. Despite the pain, she couldn't help but give off a smile. He's close enough. Now Shikamaru-kun. She shouted, the adrenaline of the fight causing her to speak louder and clearer than usual. Shikamaru didn't need the reminder, but followed it anyway. He activated the exploding tag that was on the tree where the snake was at. The explosion occurred, the strong force of it sending the snake flying into another tree. Shikamaru noticed where it landed and couldn't hide a smug smirk as he activated the exploding tag on that tree's branches. When activated, the explosion knocked off the branches, which hit the snake hard on its head. It hissed in pain. It tried to get up. Naruto, seeing an opportunity to end the fight, tossed kunai at the snake that was struggling to get up to keep fighting. The snake moaned in pain as the kunai made direct contact with its tail before it disappeared in a poof of smoke. Hell yeah, there we go, Databeo. Naruto said with a proud smirk. Hinata couldn't help but smile, feeling accomplished from the fight. She pulled herself up from the ground and walked over to the grinning Naruto. Shikamaru moved around to the other areas of the forest to collect the unused exploding tags before he jumped to meet his friends. Not bad, brats. That boy's nowhere near as strong as most of my snakes are, though. Still, for a couple of academy graduates, you guys really gave him a pounding. The 3 kids turned over to the direction of the voice and saw Anko laying on a tree branch. She seemed very relaxed and amused, as if she was just watching a show. How long have you been there, Anko-sensei? And shouldn't you be testing us yourself? Naruto shouted to her. I've been here the whole time. And I am testing you. If you couldn't tell, that snake was one of my summons. You were meant to fight it as part of the test. Anko fired back, giving off a slight yawn. So do we pass then? The blonde asked excitedly. Not yet. You think that'd be enough to impress me? The Tokubetsu Jonin scoffs. A tick mark grew on Naruto's face as he took out another kunai and tossed at his sensei. Well, then let's see how impressed you are with this. Naruto had expected his sensei to block the kunai or dodge it. What he did not expect was her to take the hit. The kunai landed directly in her head. Anko fell off the tree lifelessly, before disappearing in smoke. Wait, was that a shadow clone? Naruto asked in surprise as he started to scan the nearby area. Makes sense you would know it. It is a Jonin-level jutsu after all. Shikamaru mindlessly mentioned as he scanned the area himself, prepared for any possible attack. Gee guys. Hinata gasped in shock, her Byakugan activated. She's here. Where? Naruto asked frantically, getting even more prepared for an attack. Hinata gave no verbal response. She only tossed a kunai in the direction opposite of where Naruto was facing. Her kunai blocked a shuriken coming from that direction. Does that answer your question? Anko asked in a fake sweet tone as she started to appear into sight. She was charging at the kids, making hand signs. When she finished, she raised her left arm towards them. Hidden shadow snake hands. Snakes shot up from her coat sleeves and were sent forward towards the academy graduates. Before they had time to react, the snakes grabbed onto Naruto, and sent him flying towards the Jonin sensei. Naruto! Naruto-kun! Hinata shouted in surprise as she immediately started to run after her crush. Shikamaru followed closely behind. Naruto gasped in pain as the snakes bit harder as he was being sent towards his sensei. As he approached her, Anko then redirected her attack, sending Naruto straight into a nearby tree. She then charged at the boy with great speed, slamming her fist straight into his stomach. He groaned in pain and barely registered the fact that she pulled out a kunai. Anko then made a small cut on his cheek. Give an enemy shinobi the smallest of opportunities and they'll have you in their mercy. You'll feel a hell of a lot of pain and know you can't make a mistake, even in your weakened state, 'cause you know you'll die if you do. Anko informed the boy as she licked the blood of the kunai. She released another wave of killing intent to show her point. So, how do you face this situation, Whiskers? He won't be facing the situation alone. Hinata shouted. Anko turned around at the sound of the noise and was met with the Hyuga heiress's assault. The Tokubetsu Jonin fended off the girl's attacks, making sure that the girl wasn't hitting any of her tenketsu. After a while, Anko turned the tables on the girl, focusing on attacking back. The girl struggled to block the older woman's stronger blows and received many direct hits from her sensei. I admire the fact that you rushed in to save your ally, but that doesn't always cut it in the real world. You can't just rush in blindly to save a friend, 'cause you may just end up needing saving yourself. Anko informed the girl sharply as she dealt a punch to the girl's face. Hinata fell down in pain and immediately got up, breathing really hard. You need to be more careful next time, or else you'll be dead. I was sensei. Hinata mumbled out in between her breaths. You should be more careful why yourself. Anko was about to respond but was cut off when she lost all feeling in her body. She couldn't move any muscle. Suddenly, she felt her head turning and saw Shikamaru standing behind her. Hey sensei. He replied lazily. Despite the fact that his head was turned so that she could see him, Anko knew the boy had a smug grin on his face. I'll give you guys this, I didn't expect that. I wasn't really expecting you to actually try and trap me in your shadow while Stutters-chan was attacking me. Didn't know you could make the effort. Anko admitted, slightly teasing the boy in her praise. Her tone of voice then took a slightly mischievous and sadistic twist. But you do know that I have enough chakra that I can easily break from your control, right? I'm aware. However, I didn't really intend on trapping you for too long. Only to stall you. Shikamaru told her, his grin still on his face. Stall? What? Anko thought in confusion. She immediately broke the boy's hold on her through overpowering it with her chakra. She was about to start preparing for an attack, but she was too late. Naruto immediately pounced on her. He slammed her body down hard to the ground and delivered a punch to the face before he got out a kunai and held it to her neck. Give the enemy any opportunity and they'll have you at their mercy. Isn't that right, sensei? Naruto asked her, taunting her with the words she used on him. So, the two others were really just distracting me, so that he could recover and actually land a pretty damn good hit on me. Not too bad. They actually work well together and could do some serious damage if trained more, Anko noted, actually impressed. That's right, Whiskers. However, I did ask you how would you respond to that situation, didn't I? Well, this is how I would. She replied aloud before disappearing in a poof of smoke, replaced by a log. I figured as much. Naruto mumbled with a smirk. He turned to Shikamaru, who was grinning in response back as he made a hand sign. Anko was sitting in a nearby tree branch after she used the substitution jutsu. She was watching the three kids, wondering exactly what they were doing. Why are they just standing still? Shouldn't they be flustered or shit? Trying to prepare for an attack? Or maybe hunting me? Why are they just standing still? Anko thought in confusion, still watching her students. She was finally about to give up wondering and just charge at them when she noticed Shikamaru make a hand sign. All of a sudden, she noticed a noise coming from her coat's pocket. She reached in and pulled a kunai out, a kunai with an explosive tag on it. The explosive tag was in the process of activating. Ah. So, when Whiskers was recovering while Stutterschan attacked me, he got an explosive tag from Lazy Ass. He then put it on a kunai and slipped into my pocket when he had me on the ground. Clever son of a bitch. Anko thought, impressed. The explosive tag went off, creating a large explosion in its place. Anko managed to get away, but took some damage on the right side of her body when escaping. That's another hit they got on me. I may not be giving near my full strength at all on them, but that's damn impressive. Even when going easy, I should still be too much of a match for most genin. Anko noted. I have to pass them now. The Tokubetsu Jonin soon reappeared in front of the three kids. Naruto and Hinata were the most tired, having taken the most hits. Still, all three were notably happy and curious about their standing. So, Sensei, did we impress you enough? Or do you want us to keep going? Naruto asked, a smirk still on his face. Is that a challenge? Believe me, I haven't even done a fraction of what I can do. Anko replied confidently. Bring it on. The blonde-haired kid responded as he glared at his sensei. Anko returned his glare with one of her own. Sparks flew between the two stubborn shinobi, before Shikamaru interrupted the stare-down with a cough. Not that I care if you guys want to fight again, but can you tell us how we did, sensei? Shikamaru replied lazily with a yawn. Anko sighed in frustration. Sure. Whatever. Anyway, you all did impress me. More than I expected. So, that makes you all my team. Hell yeah. Naruto shouted. He seemed to momentarily forget any exhaustion or injuries from his fight and started to jump up and down in excitement. We're a team now, Databeo. You better damn well believe you are. The purple-haired ninja stated. You're my team. You guys all have some serious potential, and I'm going to take advantage of it and make you all into the greatest damn shinobi to ever come from this village. That also means I'll be training you guys like hell. Ha, good luck, brats. Anko chuckled inwardly, starting to plan the tort dash, or training. Anko's words only made Naruto jump even more in excitement. Her words also added some mood to his two teammates. Shikamaru had a pleased, happy smile on his face, while Hinata seemed just as excited as her blonde friend, only she wasn't outwardly acting on it. So it's official. Nothing can change it. We're all a team together. I didn't let them down. Hinata cheered inwardly, her inner self doing backflips and jumping up and down even more excitedly than Naruto was doing now. Anko couldn't help but laugh as she looked at the genin. Just letting you guys know, you're dismissed for the day. We'll meet up here at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we will do that every day unless I say so. So now you guys are dismissed. The three genin bowed in response, thanked their sensei, and left together. They were probably going to celebrate the fact that they passed their exam. Mitarashi Anko watched as her genin squad was leaving. Inwardly, she was thinking 1,000 different thoughts a minute. She was having trouble deciding on exactly what she was feeling. On one hand, I'm pissed that they're going to take up a lot of my free time. I also wonder how good of a sensei I can be. But on the other hand, damn, they'll be kick-ass shinobi in the future. And I have to admit, they aren't that bad for brats. Anko thought. You know, I'll be excited and happy. Why the hell not? I just may like this thing. The Tokubetsu Jonin nodded to herself, finally deciding on how she felt about this whole thing. Anko was about to leave and head to go get some dango to celebrate this newfound realization when she remembered something. She immediately turned to face a nearby tree. You know, the brats are all gone. You can come out and stop hiding now. She called out. Nearly on cue with her words, a figure jumped out of the tree and landed right in front of it. The figure was a woman with long black hair and red eyes. She wore a white and red tight-fitting armor that resembled a blouse, and had bandages over her hands. The woman greeted Anko with a wave and walked up to her. She responded back with a wave of her own. "You've been there for a while, Kurenai. Don't you have your own kids to fail? Should you really be wasting too much time with me?" The Tokubetsu Jonin asked with a laugh. "Already did," the woman, Kurenai, said with a sigh. "I had a team already planned out, but then Hokage-sama felt the need to change up my request. I got a different team instead, a team made up of kids who should never be made genin." The purple-haired woman noticed a hint of bitterness in her friend's voice. "You know, I really am surprised that you passed your team," Kurenai admitted to her friend, a smile back on her face. "Oh, come on. I may not have been too excited about having a team. Hell, I'll admit to being pissed and complaining a lot. But I'm not gonna deny talent when I see it. There was no way I couldn't pass those brats." Anko replied back. "Oh, I have no doubt you would see their talent. But still, I can't believe you actually passed a team," the red-eyed Jonin stated, stifling a giggle. "You know what that means, right?" "What?" her friend replied nervously. She saw the smile and her struggling to hold back her laughter. Anko had a feeling she was not going to like whatever she was about to hear. "Well, you just took up a team. A team of new genin. Hope you have fun doing D-rank missions for a while," Kurenai informed her friend cheerfully before making a hand sign and deceiving through the shunshin. Anko blinked. She blinked twice. Memories starting to fill her mind. Horrible memories from her time as a genin. All those hours, those boring hours. The painting, the babysitting, the grocery shopping, that damn cat. Anko's mind replayed various mental images of menial tasks around the image. The image of her chasing after a cat replayed multiple times. It was too much for the Tokubetsu Jonin. She lost her balance and fell to the ground, her eyes still filled with shock. No more meaningful missions. Less time for torture. No more fun. More lame chores. More hours boredom. More time with that damn cat. Anko fumed within her head. Damn it. This is the last time I take up a frickin' genin team. Chapter 6, Life as Genin. Naruto was grinning as he ran down the streets towards Training Ground 17. Today was his first day of training. Today would also be the day of his first mission. The blonde truly felt like a shinobi, and he was happy about it. This is it. This is where my journey to become Hokage truly begins, Databeo. He mentally declared to himself as he left the houses of Konoha and was reaching the outer areas where the training grounds were. It didn't take long for the Uzumaki to find the training grounds. The boy was cutting it close on time, however, which explained why his other two teammates and his sensei were already present. Last one here? I expected more from the future Hokage. Anko taunted the boy. Naruto's eyes narrowed on her. You be quiet, Anko-sensei. I'm on time, Databeo. Lighten up, boy. Just a joke. For a prankster, you take things too seriously. The woman laughed in response. Naruto didn't say anything in response. He only slightly frowned as he made his way over to his two friends. He greeted both of them with a high five before he turned back to his sensei. It was at this time that Naruto noticed that the woman had a large, plain brown bag that she was carrying on her back. Well, we are all here, why not we just start now? He asked. Why not? We are only 2 minutes ahead of schedule anyway. The snake summoner shrugged before beginning her explanation. Okay, just giving you all a heads up, this is how our daily schedules will work. We start each day with a warm-up, which could take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, depending on my mood. After that, then I'll work on some group training work. This may include teamwork, chakra control, jutsus, weapons, etc. Really anything you all can be trained on as a team. Finally, after that, I'll make 2 shadow clones and then I, or my clones, will work directly one-on-one with each of you on specialized training. When that's all done, we will go to the Hokage's tower and see if there are any missions available. Is all of that understood? Yes, sensei. All 3 genin replied. Alright, now, before the warm-up and before I forget, take one of these. Anko informed her students as she gave them each a slip of paper. And what are these for, sensei? Naruto asked as he stared at his paper. Paper. Well, Whiskers, these chakra papers are for finding out your natural element. She responded with a smirk. Naruto's look of confusion morphed into one of excitement. Thanks to his last-minute paying attention to Irika's lessons, he remembered the discussion on nature affinities. He knew exactly what they were, and he was excited. Just a heads up, I won't really be teaching you brats nature manipulation just yet. Anko informed them. But, I still want to do this for 2 reasons. For one, I can have it for a reference for later on. And 2, when I start teaching you guys jutsu, I know what type of jutsus will be easier and more effective for you all to learn. The Tokubetsu Jonin pulls out her own chakra paper and applies her chakra into. The paper immediately lights itself on fire and starts to burn. Whoa! Naruto gasps, staring wide-eyed at the fire. Pretty cool, huh? The purple-haired woman asks as she crushes the paper in her hand, putting out the fire. If it wasn't obvious, the burning in fire means I am a fire type. Naturally. But enough about me. This about you brats. Now, put some chakra into your papers, and let's find out your affinities. The 3 genin nodded and followed their sensei's request. Hinata was the first to have her paper react. Her paper was soaked, causing water to drip down the girl's hand. Water element. Nice. Anko informed her. Probably the most flexible and versatile element of all 5. Great offense and defense, and it's good with short and long range. You've got a lot of things you can do with it, especially if you actually get good with it. Yep, you've got a pretty damn good element. Really? Hinata asked, a smile growing on her face. She seemed proud to hear she had an element that could be useful in multiple areas. Anko nodded, then turned her attention over to Naruto. His chakra paper was split in half. Wind element, huh? Very rare in Konoha. You're like, what, the second one we got? Anko noted. Nevertheless, great element. Single greatest attacking element in close and mid-range and also great for support techniques. Very useful element indeed. Awesome. Naruto cheered loudly. Anko didn't pay too much attention to his screaming. Instead, she was currently gaping at the sight of the Nara boy. The paper he was currently holding had lit on fire. Really? Really? Anko mumbled in disbelief. Of all 3 of you, lazy ass is the only one with my natural affinity? Really? Troublesome. Shikamaru simply stated as he stopped applying chakra and ended the fire. I'll just stick with my clan's shadow techniques. Oh no you don't, boy. If you have a fire affinity, I'll be working on that thing. Who knows, maybe I'll get you to be more active or something. The Tokubetsu Jonin informed him. She was now sporting a grin at how training with Shikamaru's fire affinity will go. The Nara was starting to grow nervous. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to get that in for a reference for later. Anko stated, getting everyone's attention. Anyway, let's get to work with warm-ups. Let's begin. Yes, Anko-sensei. The 3 genin said in unison as they faced their sensei, ready to do any warm-up she had planned. What started off as a harmless, normal warm-up turned into a training session from hell for the genin. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru laid on the ground, tired and panting while Anko stood above them, frowning. Come on brats. It wasn't that bad, she replied. Not that bad? You call doing 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, and 50 laps around the training field not that bad? Naruto asked incredulously. That's also not mentioning the kunai you would throw at us whenever we stopped for a few seconds, or the times where you forced us to start over because of some troublesome reason. Shikamaru added, glaring at the woman in front of him. She's worse than my mom. Good lord, this is a pain. Seriously, it isn't bad. You should see what Guy does to his Genin squad. Anko responded nonchalantly. Despite all of his rude remarks towards her, Hinata felt deep sympathy for her cousin, Niji, if Anko's words about his sensei were true. What could honestly be worse than this? Anyway, that concludes your warm-up for today. The Tokubetsu Jonin told them with a smile. The three genin took this time to get up. Now, on to group training. Today's focus, chakra control. Damn it. This is going to be just like with Mom, but worse again. Shikamaru groaned in his head. Naruto and Hinata were experiencing similar thoughts with Yoshino in mind. Now, just curious, do you guys know how to climb trees with only your feet? The sensei asked. The genin nodded in response. Oh, I see. I'd take you to practice water walking, but there's no water here. Guess I'll have to do that later. For now, I'll just work on improving your tree walking. The snake summoner led the genin members of Team 3 towards the forest near the training grounds. She stood in front of 3 trees in particular. Okay, brats, today's lesson plan is this: climb up the trees and get to the branches. Then keep walking underneath the branches and hold your positions there. Anko ordered. Ha! That's it? Naruto asked. We'll see. She shrugged in response. Anyway, the day's going on. Get a move on. With those words, the 3 genin rushed up their tree as quickly as they could. They all got on the underside of the top branch on their trees and stood there. This won't be that bad. Naruto told his 2 friends with a laugh. He had no clue how wrong he was. Once again, all 3 genin were laying on the ground by their trees in exhaustion. This time, chakra exhaustion was added with their physical exhaustion. Anko had decided that they weren't being challenged enough, so she ordered them to hop from tree branch to tree branch in the forest while underneath the tree. This was naturally harder to do than being above the tree, and required even more chakra control and balance. Anko would also, once again, throw kunai at her students when they showed signs of tiredness to urge them to keep moving in training. Come on brats, get up. We need to do individual training now. Anko reminded them with a smile. The 3 genin got up once again, this time more slowly. You're a sadist, you know that? Shikamaru informed her with a deep breath. Yup. The woman responded. Just give a few minutes to relax please Anko-sensei. Hinata requested. The Tokubetsu Jonin sighed. Fine. I'll give you guys 15 minutes to take a break. Just be ready when you're done. With those words, the 3 kids passed out on the ground in exhaustion once again. Well, at least I'm getting stronger, Databeo. Naruto told himself, thinking on the positive side. When all 3 genin were finished calming themselves down, Anko made the hand sign for the shadow clone jutsu. 2 clones appeared in a poof of smoke and stared at the genin. Okay brats, just saying, my clones will be working with whiskers and lazy ass. They'll lead you somewhere else on the training grounds. That means Stutters-chan gets time here with me. Hinata released a small eep while Shikamaru and Naruto merely nodded. Anko's clones ushered for them to follow down different paths. The 2 boys did just that. They were eventually gone, leaving Hinata alone with her sensei. Well, just you and me. The purple-haired woman stated with her trademark sadistic grin. Why yes. Her student replied nervously. No need to be nervous. Now, for today's first day of training, I am going to teach you how to use a weapon. Anko informed the Hyuga heiress as she started digging in the bag she was holding. W what? What W weapon? Hinata asked, a little curious and nervous. And WY a weapon? Most Hyuga D don't use W weapons in their F-fighting style. Anko was about to pull out the weapon of her choosing before she registered what Hinata had just said. She put her bag down for a second with a sigh and turned to her student. Hinata, I actually don't mind you, so I feel I should ask you, can I be brutally honest about your clan? The Tokubetsu Jonin asked. The Hyuga heiress nearly gasped at her sensei's words. For starters, this was the first time she actually referred to her by her real name, not the nickname she was assigned. Also, her sensei was actually asking for permission to say what's on her mind. Oh of course. Say anything. Hinata replied. She felt happy that her sensei actually asked her, but she was also nervous about what her sensei would say. Your clan is the biggest group of idiots in Konoha. Anko stated rather bluntly. Hinata's eyes only slightly widened, having expected an insult. She merely remained silent, however, waiting to hear her sensei's words. You see, you guys possess the Byakugan, a dojutsu that allows you 360-degree vision in addition to see through walls and see people's chakra. However, the only thing your clan really uses it for is the gentle fist. Now, don't get me wrong, the gentle fist is pretty damn deadly and effective, and makes a Hyuga a hell of an opponent. Having said that, that is really all you use your eyes for. Anko explained her reasoning. A Hyuga would make probably one of the best damn medics, since you can see directly through a person and into their body systems, but you guys never become medics because of tradition. The snake summoner rolled her eyes at her own words. Hinata frowned as well. She actually had an interest in medical ninjutsu, and even designed her own healing salves and medicine. Still, she knew she wouldn't be allowed to become a medical ninja. It would be considered impractical, a waste of time, and disgraceful to her clan. There's also another thing your clan fails to use your eyes for, long-range attacks. Anko continued in her rant. You guys have such great vision that you could see enemy shinobi coming from far distances. And yet, you are all close to mid-range fighters only? Yeah, just no. Anko finally ended up going back to her bag and pulling out the weapon she was getting earlier. Hinata's eyes wandered to it and gasped at what she saw. Her sensei was holding a bow and arrow set. Yeah, I decided that you should capitalize on what your eyes can do. So, I'm going to work with you on developing your long-range skills. I'll teach you some jutsus later on when you can learn them. For now though, let's work on developing your archery. She declared, handing over the bow and arrows to the Hyuga. Hinata held the wooden bow in her hands tightly. She instinctively moved her hand back and forth down its limbs, trying to get a feel for her weapon. The Hyuga then had another thought come into her head. Byakugan. She shouted, activating her dojutsu. Her vision expanded greatly, showing her everything around her due to her eyes' range. For the first time in a while though, Hinata noticed just how far she could see with her eyes. I'd say I can see about a little more than a kilometer. I can see far away trees with fruit that I could shoot down. I know if there was a ninja there, I could see them and would be able to fire at them. Hinata thought, excitedly. And I can even increase my vision with more practice. So, you just how deadly you could be, don't you? Anko asked her student. Get you some practice, and you could make yourself Konoha's single greatest long-distance fighter. And if somehow an enemy survived past your assaults from a distance, you'd have the gentle fist for when they get too close. Hinata felt determination rush through her body. She immediately took out an arrow and placed it on the arrow rest as she started to aim at a faraway apple in a tree. Anko saw this determination and her grin grew even larger. Now, I may not be good with a bow, but I have some scrolls and I know the basics. So, Stutters-chan, let's work on your skill with a bow. The Tokubetsu Jonin declared. Naruto was led by one of the Anko clones to a separate area of the training ground. They were near the edge and were surrounded by nearby trees with targets on them. "Are we done walking? Can we begin now, Anko-sensei?" Naruto asked in a bored tone. "Can it, Whiskers?" "But yes, we are done." "This'll do," the Anko clone replied as she came to a stop. "Awesome. Then, what do you have to teach me?" "Ha?" the blonde questioned, getting up in his sensei's face. "Whoa. Back up there, brat," the purple-haired woman ordered with a sigh. "Anyway, because of your large chakra supply, it's safe to say you're the ninjutsu type of shinobi. So, we're working on teaching you some wind-style ninjutsu." Naruto proceeded to jump up and down in place, excitement running through him. "Hell yeah. Time to learn some kick-ass ninjutsu," he declared. "Simmer down, kid. We aren't teaching you that good of ninjutsu yet. You got to learn and work your way up through practice. Anyway, I have a jutsu I think you might could learn now," the clone informed him. The Tokubetsu Jonin stepped forward and made a 5-hand signs. After her last one, she took in a deep breath and faced a target. "Futon, great breakthrough." The clone then released a gust of wind that blasted forwards. It cut into the nearby trees in front of her and obliterated the targets on them. Naruto stared in awe at the work of the ninjutsu. The blast of wind actually knocked him back a little bit, and he could see just how much damage the jutsu did to the trees and the targets. He was very impressed and excited. That's the great breakthrough. It's C rank and primarily a short to mid-range offensive type. As you can see, it packs a pretty good punch. The Anko clone noted, impressed by her work. It can be made better with practice though, especially if the user actually is a wind type. Naruto's eyes gleamed at that. "Hell yeah. I'll make that jutsu mine databao." Anko-sensei, can you show me the hand signs again?" the boy asked, clearly ready and excited. After watching Anko make the hand signs one more time, Naruto turned to face the same trees that his sensei was in front. He made the same 5 hand signs before taking a deep breath himself. "Futon, great breakthrough." Naruto released his breath and tried to release the wind. No wind shot forward, however. A tiny breeze of wind could be felt, but Naruto couldn't tell if that was cause of his jutsu or not. Anko's sweat dropped. To be honest, I was expecting him to fail it the first time cause of putting too much uncontrolled chakra. How the hell did he fail to create it? Damn it. The boy complained. "Whatever, I'll get it down this databao." The Anko clone continued to watch Naruto practice the jutsu, ready to give any hints she could to help him learn. Naruto continued to practice, dead set on learning this jutsu. Shikamaru couldn't help but feel suspicious and slightly nervous as the Anko clone took him to his separate part of the training ground. Every few seconds, the clone would turn its head and stare at Shikamaru as if he was prey. The look would then go away as the purple-haired woman would pay attention to what way she was going. That didn't stop her from still looking at him like that though. The boy continued to watch with her suspicion. Finally, Anko stopped walking when they reached a small area in the training ground. Their location was a simple wide-open field with nothing present, no trees, no practice dummies, nothing. It was in this area that Anko immediately charged at Shikamaru, readying her fist to punch him. The young Nara's eyes widened as he barely managed to get out of the way in time. He then put distance between him and the clone as fast as he could. "Anko-sensei, what are you doing?" he asked, his voice a little shaky from being caught off guard. "Training you," she replied as she charged at him again, this time going faster. Shikamaru was unable to avoid this blow. He took the fist straight in his face, and fell to the ground in pain. He got up as quickly as he could and glared at his sensei as he made more distance. "You should have seriously been able to dodge that," Anko pointed out. "What's the point of this?" The Nara grumbled in response as he got into position to fight off another blow. Sure enough, the clone charged at him again. The boy was able to block this hit and began to engage his sensei's clone in a fight. Well, basically, I noticed something about you, lazy ass. Your reflexes and physical strength suck. The purple-haired woman told him bluntly as she attempted to deliver a kick at him. She made contact and knocked him down after a strike to his stomach. I noticed that in the test yesterday you didn't get involved really in the physical fighting, just all the planning and strategy. And according to the academy tests, you have one of the worst taijutsus. So, until we can work on your weaknesses and improve them, you're going to be stuck fighting me each day. Shikamaru groaned as he got himself up, both in pain and annoyance. He had heard the complaints about his taijutsu already too many times, from the academy teachers and his parents. This was nothing new to him. He couldn't help but get annoyed at his sensei's training. Is that all? He grumbled after he was finally up and ready to continue fighting. Yeah. Basically, I am going to force some physical strength skills into you, lazy ass. So be prepared. She shouted as she charged again. Shikamaru sighed, mumbling something about pains in the ass before he got into position to fight off his sensei. After an hour of individual training, Anko ended the sessions and closed training for the day. All three genin seemed to be excited about this concept. Shikamaru was the most excited. He was completely exhausted having to deal with Anko's one-on-one physical training in addition to the previous sessions with his teammates. The boy was completely drained and he was surprised he was still standing. I am taking the first chance I get to take a nap. I really need one. Troublesome woman. He complained. Hinata was not nearly as tired as her lazy friend was, but she was sore in her hands and her eyes. She had been practicing her skill with the bow and arrow the entire time, attempting to hit faraway targets to make herself a skilled long-range fighter. At first, in the words of her sensei, she sucked horribly. Still, with each arrow fired, she was getting better. By the end of the session, the Hyuga was finally starting to get the concept. If I can get it down perfectly, that'll make me even better of a ninja. It'll make me stronger for my team, for Naruto-kun. She mentally thought, creating more determination to learn to use the bow. Naruto was the least tired in the group. His endurance and stamina was finally starting to kick in, and he was able to spend his entire time practicing his jutsu. After many failed attempts from using too much or too little chakra, Naruto finally was able to create a slightly strong gust of wind with the great breakthrough. Now, he only needed to perfect it and make it a stronger jutsu. I just need to work on it. More practice, then I'll move on to the next. Naruto thought excitedly. Well, I guess that's it for training. I'll admit, I was hard on you guys, but you all are doing a damn good job. Anko told them with a smile. All three genin, even Shikamaru, felt joy at their sensei's words. Anyway, now it's mission time. Anko told them with a sigh. Yes. Finally. First mission database. Naruto cheered loudly. Hopefully the mission won't upset Naruto-kun. Hinata thought to herself. She remembered Irika's lesson on mission ranks and knew they were going to get a D rank. She knew it would be too easy for Naruto, and she was worried for his reaction. Damn it, I really wanted to get some rest. Shikamaru groaned. Well, let's go and get this over with. Anko mumbled with a sigh, leading the way for her genin squad to the Hokage Tower. Please don't be too easy, please don't be too easy. The young Uzumaki had many expectations for his first mission. He had wondered what great mission would he be able to say was his first. An assassination mission of a dangerous criminal? Protecting royalty from S-class invaders? Infiltration to learn enemy secrets? Naruto had many expectations and ideas for his first mission. None of them involved pulling weeds. Are you kidding me? Naruto screamed in complaint as he pulled up another weed. Hey, shut up, brat. Wasn't it you who said that gardening was one of his favorite hobbies? Anko sneered in response as she helped pick up weeds with her team. Yeah, but that's different. I like picking out the plants, watering them, and watching them grow. I don't like picking weeds though. I hate weeds. The blonde roared as he picked up another weed. Hinata couldn't help but giggle at her crush's rather comedic frustration, but she completely sympathized. She liked growing plants and pressing flowers, so she knew how evil weeds were. She was not enjoying this mission just as much as he was. Shikamaru didn't even register his friend's comments. He was currently using his friend's loudness as a cover for him to take a break and try and nap. Despite snapping at the boy, Anko completely understood the boy's disappointment and complaining. She couldn't believe just how boring this mission was. It was worse than she remembered. How many more missions till I can request a C rank? Please, come soon. Anko thought in desperation as she picked up another weed herself. Days passed since the first day of training. The 4 members of Team 3 eventually fell into routine with the hard work of their first day. Each day, they would meet up at the training ground and begin the training exactly like they did earlier. After training was complete, they would perform a D-rank mission from the Hokage before being dismissed for the day. Anko couldn't help but notice that her genin were indeed getting stronger. Physically, the warm-ups were helping them get tougher and get them more stamina. Their chakra control as a whole was also improving. The Tokubetsu Jonin took them out to practice water walking during their first week, and after a few days, the 3 were able to get to the hang of it. Shikamaru was probably showing the biggest signs of development. The boy had went through the most rigid physical program under Anko. Although he was still a lazy ass, the boy had indeed improved to Anko's standards. He was getting tougher and his reflexes had improved. His taijutsu was actually getting to the point of being decent to his sensei. When he reached this level, his one-on-one fights with Anko stopped and she spent her time working on his specialty, tactics and planning. Hinata also grew in her skill set. After days of practice, the girl had picked up a real talent for archery. She grew to really like her bow and arrow set and carried it around with her in a black backpack at all times. The girl's training was making her very good at fighting in long range, and was also improving her vision's distance with constant use of the Byakugan. Naruto had spent most of his time in his practice sessions working on the Great Breakthrough. Even after he got the jutsu down, he wanted to make it stronger and perfect it. After a few sessions, the boy had managed to get a gust of wind strong enough to knock down multiple trees at once. Even his clones could now perform the jutsu with some ease. The boy was growing very excited and confident in his abilities with jutsu. Team 3's sensei noticed the growth and development in all 3 of her students. She couldn't help but feel some pride in their progress. She recognized in the test that the 3 would be great shinobi, but she never realized to what extent. If they keep this up, they'll be something of legend of someday. That'll make me legendary too, as I taught them. Anko mentally noted with a laugh. She continued to watch over their progress and assist in their training in any way she could. Over time, being a sensei seemed easier and more natural to her. She was getting the hang of things, and was able to assist her team in more ways as the days went by. Days soon turned to weeks. Team 3 continued to grow in strength and skill. Their development continued to be more apparent as time went by. Still, the squad had been stuck doing D-rank missions since their beginning. All 3 members, even Shikamaru and Hinata, would agree that they were ready for a higher level mission. Back for another mission, Team 3? Sarutobi Hiruzen asks the genin team cheerfully as all 4 members walk into his office. Yes, sir. Hinata speaks up for her team after realizing that no one else is going to say anything. The Hokage nods at the Hyuga's words and immediately looks at a list of all the available missions for the team. Well, there are some houses that need to be painted in the southern part of Konoha. And it seems like the daimyo's cat has escaped again. He mentioned as he looked over the list. Anko's eyes widened exponentially. Shit. Abort mission. Must convince him of something else. Just no more damn cat. Hokage-sama, don't you think we deserve a C-rank mission now? Now? I mean, we've done plenty of D-ranks. Anko asked, laughing nervously. Who is Stutters-chan now, Anko-sensei? Naruto asked, teasing his sensei for the sudden stuttering. Hinata giggled in response. But she's right. Come on, old man, give us a C-rank mission already. A C-rank? The Hokage asked. Do you think your team can handle one? Well, Hokage-sama, my team has done plenty of missions over the past 2 weeks. They've completed more than enough D-ranks necessary to request one, and I can say that from watching them, they're tough. They could handle one. Anko informed him. Her nerves seemed to go away and she felt more confident that she could get a C-rank mission allowed. The Hokage seemed to nod in understanding. He took out another list of missions and started to look at it, to see if there was an appropriate mission to assign to Team 3. Anko crossed her fingers while the Hokage searched. I think I found one, he declared as he pointed to one. He then started digging through a scroll with the mission contents in more detail. Anko and Naruto began cheering loudly at the Hokage's words. Yes. No cat. She screamed excitedly. Finally. A real mission. Naruto yelled nearly as loud as her. The boy, in his excitement, immediately latched on to the person standing next to him. That person happened to be Hinata, who immediately turned a dark red and promptly fainted in his arms after a surprised meep escaped her mouth. Oh, sorry about that, Naruto started to say before he realized that the girl in his arms was unconscious. Ha! Hinata? Hinata! Are you okay? Wake up! Hinata's fainting only caused Anko to burst out into even more laughter. Shikamaru merely rolled his eyes in response. How does that idiot not know that she likes him? He'll have to learn eventually. Or maybe someone will point it out to him someday. But even then, he'd probably still be confused. Troublesome. Shikamaru thought to himself about his friend and his obliviousness. The Hokage couldn't help but chuckle at the display in front of him. Oh, to be young again. After getting out all of the laughter, the Hokage started to speak to the awake members of Team 3. Your mission is an escort mission to Kusa no Kuni. You'll be escorting a wealthy merchant from Tsuchi no Kuni, who is currently traveling in Hai no Kuni to see family. You will take him to the Tenchi Bridge, where you will meet a team of IWA shinobi. They will then take the merchant and escort him back home in your place. The Hokage gave a brief synopsis of the mission. Sweet. IWA is involved. This isn't some normal boring C-rank. This is a good one, guarantee. Anko inwardly cheered. IWA? Naruto frowned in response. Why do we have to deal with those punks, Databeo? We could just take him all the way home. For various reasons, Naruto. First of all, this was how the client requested the mission. He already sent out the request to IWA and Konoha months in advance about the missions, so IWA already has the mission. Second, IWA is in Tsuchi no Kuni, and it only makes sense that they bring the merchant home themselves. Finally, this mission is one of a few ways that I'm hoping can bridge the hostility between Konoha and IWA. The war ended years ago, and it's time that we look past what happened during it. The Sandaime explained the reasoning. Naruto seemed to accept the reasoning of the old man, but he still didn't seem happy. Stupid IWA. So, when exactly is the mission? And who is our client? All we know is that he is just some rich merchant. Shikamaru asked for the group. Your mission starts tomorrow. That's the day your client is expected to leave Konoha by. As for who he is, I will have Anko meet with him in his hotel room after we are done here. The rest of you will meet him tomorrow. Sarutobi informed him. Hokage-sama, what about Hinata? Naruto asked, his voice with concern towards the girl still passed out in his arms. Sarutobi let out another laugh. Just inform of the mission and what you will be doing when she wakes up. Naruto nodded in response, still looking at his friend. If there are no more questions, then the genin are all dismissed. The Hokage informed them. Naruto and Shikamaru said goodbye to the Hokage and their sensei before leaving the room, with Naruto carrying the still passed out Hinata. Anko and Sarutobi watched the genin leave, both laughing at the display. Oh, those brats. Something about them. Anko stated in between her laughter. You've seen to taken a soft spot to them, Anko. Enjoying your time as sensei? Sarutobi asked cheerfully. He knew he had kind of forced the position of sensei onto the woman, so he was pleased to see that she was actually enjoying it. Well, I don't mind it. They aren't bad kids or anything. The snake summoner shrugged. No, they aren't. The Sandaime nodded in agreement. Anyway, on to business. Let's go introduce you to your client. The Hokage made the hand sign for the shadow clone jutsu and created one clone. The clone Hokage led Anko out of the room and directed her to where her client was staying. The real Sarutobi remained behind, dealing with the #1 nemesis of his entire life, paperwork. 9 silhouettes stood atop large rocks situated in front of a large statue. 7 of the silhouettes seemed blurry and almost see-through, as if they were not truly present. Zetsu, the Jinchuriki, is leaving his village soon, correct? One of the figures asked in an authoritative voice. Yes. Another figure, Zetsu, responded. Unlike the other 8, this figure took the shape of a Venus flytrap. It then changed its voice before speaking again. Their mission begins tomorrow. He and his team will be heading to Kusa no Kuni towards the Tenchi Bridge, where they are meeting the other village's shinobi. Good. The first figure spoke. He then turned his attention towards 2 more figures, standing next to each other. Kakuzu, Nasamurita, I have a mission for you both. As you two are the closest to the bridge, you will engage the Jinchuriki after they leave the other ninja. Fight him to test his abilities and see where the Jinchuriki stands. If possible now, try and capture him alive for the extraction. If you can, then try and pin his disappearance on the other shinobi. The Konoha Iwa feud is infamous, so it won't seem off that something like this happened. Understood. One of the figures replied in a bored, uncaring tone of voice. Anyway, if that's all the orders you have for me, then I'll be on my way. Later. With those words, the figure disappeared from view on his rock. Didn't even wait for any more orders, that impatient, obnoxious little brat. The figure that was standing next to him hissed under his breath before he turned to face the leader. My partner is getting me on my nerves. He has been for the past few days. Expect me to need a new partner, as I will probably kill him very soon and turn him in for the bounty Kumo has on his head, if he keeps pissing me off with his impatience. That'll be the third one, Kakuzu. Zetsu replied nonchalantly. We can look into that for you, Kakuzu, but for now, just work with him and complete your mission. There are no further orders for you. The leader stated. He then turned his attention to Zetsu. Zetsu, keep track on the other Jinchuriki. Find out everything you can about them and their current positions. Got it. The plant figure replied, his voice back to the way it originally was. Conan and I will work on recruiting a new member into the organization, a man who claims to be immortal. Perhaps this would be the best suited partner for you, Kakuzu? The leader asked. If he pisses me off, I'll find a way to kill him too. Kakuzu responded simply. The leader seemed to ignore the man's response and turned to the entire group. As for the rest of you, you have your individual assignments. The meeting is dismissed until Kakuzu and Nasamurita complete their mission. With those words, all silhouettes disappeared without a trace. Chapter 7, First C Rank, Journey to Tenchi Bridge. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru stood in front of the gates of Konoha. The 3 members of Team 3 were sporting backpacks and extra weaponry for their first C-rank mission, and first time out of the village. They were all anxiously waiting for their first true mission to begin, with Naruto being the most excitement. My first time out of the village, my first real mission. This is going to be an awesome few days, Databao. The boy cheered inwardly, almost jumping up and down in place due to excitement. This excitement soon changed to irritation after a few minutes passed. Their sensei and client were nowhere to be found. Anko-sensei should be here by now, right? Naruto asked his friends. I mean, she came to my house and told me be here at 8 o'clock in the morning, or suffer the consequences. So where is she? I have no clue. Hinata admitted with a sigh. Troublesome. I actually woke up early today for this, and she doesn't even show up on time. Shikamaru complained. Minutes soon turned into an hour. It was at this point of irritation that Anko finally showed her face. She was accompanied by a short, rather large man who looked to be in his late 30s. He was wearing black pants and a large, expensive-looking blue shirt that had the kanji for respect on the back. The man was also wearing a blue hat that covered most of his short blonde hair. He also was carrying 2 packs on his back that seemed full. Anko didn't get the chance to speak before Naruto started to shout. Where the crap have you been, sensei? He asked. Anko was about to respond but was cut off by the man that was walking with her. I am terribly sorry, Konoha Shinobi. I am sad to say that it was my fault that we were late. The man bowed his head in apology. He had a very eloquent way of speaking. When Anko-sama came to pick me up for the meeting, I was still fast asleep. I had forgotten the time from our conversation yesterday, so she in fact woke me up. I had to prepare for the day right then and there, which I failed to do quickly. I am terribly sorry. Naruto blinked in response. It's fine, sir. And no need to apologize for a simple mistake. Hinata informed him. Yeah. No problem at all. I understand. Naruto informed the man with a smile. Truth be told, that sounded like something he would do. Granted, he wouldn't say it so wordy, but the point still remains. I'm jealous. Shikamaru noted, upset he didn't have the luck of oversleeping. Mitarashi Anko cleared her voice, getting everyone's attention. Well, brats, you just heard the man. That's why we are late leaving. She stated rather bluntly, irritation evident, before pointing towards the man next to her. Anyway, this is our client, Yen. In case you all forgot, he is a merchant from Tsuchi no Kuni, and it is our job to escort him to the Tenchi Bridge and deliver him to Iwa Shinobi, who will escort him home. It is a pleasure to meet you all. Yen spoke up, interrupting the purple-haired woman again. This is your genin team, correct? Yes. Yes, it is. She responded, her face starting to get red from annoyance. Anyway. We've wasted some daylight, so let's hurry up and get out of here. Hell yeah. Yeah. Finally. Naruto cheered loudly in excitement. Oh, this'll be exciting. I always love traveling, especially with company. Yen stated, nearly as excited as the boy next to him. The 2 blondes hurried off outside the gates of Konoha, heading towards their mission. Hinata, Shikamaru, and Anko watched the 2 speed off in silence. Anko was the one to break the silence with a sigh. I forgot what it's like to deal with clients like this. Kill me now. She grumbled to herself as she started to walk off. Her 2 genin started to follow her. He seems nice though. Hinata noted, quietly. Oh, he is, he's very polite. But he doesn't shut up. I've only known him since yesterday afternoon, and I've already heard his voice too much. Anko complained. Just what we need, another loudmouth blonde. Shikamaru noted with a sigh, slightly joking and slightly serious. When the 3 Konoha shinobi made their way out of the gates, they noticed that Naruto and Yen were standing off to the side of the road. Naruto was rubbing the back of his head sheepishly while Yen was looking down in embarrassment.
"Forgive me, Konoha Shinobi.
In my haste to leave, I had forgotten to check a map on which way Kusa no Kuni is,"
the merchant informed them sadly. "Yeah, what way we are going?" Naruto asked, voicing his and the merchant's concerns.
Hinata's sweat dropped, Shikamaru gave off a sigh, and Anko face-palmed. "That's another thing wrong with the client, he's impulsive and scatterbrained.
Just like another blonde I'm in charge of." Anko moaned inwardly. "Just follow me,"
the purple-haired woman informed everyone present as she started off on the path towards Kusa no Kuni. The three genin and the merchant nodded in response and followed behind.
Team 3's first C-rank mission had now officially begun.
An hour had passed since Team 3 had left the gates of Konoha. They were currently on the road to reach Kusa no Kuni. According to Anko's map and memory, they should reach Kusa no Kuni on their third or fourth day, depending on their speed, and reach the Tenchi Bridge one day later. The Tokubetsu Jonin was currently conversing with Yen. The woman did not seem too happy to be talking to him and answering all of his questions, but she was making an effort to be polite and respond to them. The two adults reached a conclusion to their conversation. Hinata decided to take this time to get to know her client.
"So Yen-san, did you enjoy Hai no Kuni while you were here?"
she asked the merchant.
"I did indeed, Hinata-sama. Your country is very beautiful,"
Yen complimented with a smile. Hinata was about to respond, further questioning about his time here, but was cut off by the loud voice of her crush.
"Hey, Yen-san, why do you add Sama to our names?
I mean, you're our client.
You shouldn't really be calling us that, not that I mind or anything," Naruto asked, rushing his last statement in hopes of not offending.
He was just simply confused.
"On the contrary, you all deserve the title, Naruto-sama. After all, you are shinobi,"
the merchant informed him as if it was a simple concept.
"Sure, I'm paying you all and you're working for me, but you are protecting me."
"You all have the power to do that, something I don't have. That's what makes you worthy of that title. You are all stronger than me and are protecting me." Hinata couldn't help but blush at the merchant's praise.
Surprisingly, neither could Naruto.
The boy had never been praised as much from someone he had just met. He had a large grin on his face. "From what I've heard, most clients don't think as highly of us as you do, Yen-san. Your belief says a lot about your character,"
Shikamaru noted with a smile of his own.
From the stories he has heard from his parents and his dad's teammates, he had heard a lot about the awful, horrible, and condescending clients who call for escort missions. Thankfully he's not a pain in the ass.
Shikamaru inwardly sighed in relief. "As you can tell from my outfit, respect is very important to me,"
Yen declared, pointing to the kanji on the back of his shirt.
"My parents taught me to give the proper respect to everyone that they deserve, and that's what I do." Comfortable silence filled the air after his words. The Konoha shinobi, even Anko, seemed very pleased with the man's ideology and statements.
The silence was soon broken though, as Yen started to speak.
"If you don't mind, may I ask you a few questions about being shinobi?"
he asked them. "I've discussed most of these questions with Anko-sama, but I'm interested in hearing from the perspective of a genin squad."
"Sure,"
Hinata stated politely for her and her friends.
"Oh, you fools. You know not what you are doing," Anko sang in her head.
She remembered all the questions Yen had for her the day before, and just before he started to talk to her genin. She had an idea on exactly what was going to happen.
The Tokubetsu Jonin's speculation was proven correct. Yen immediately bombarded the young genin with multiple questions. The questions ranged from simple topics, such as information on chakra, the shinobi lifestyle, and the way Konoha is run, to personal questions, such as their reasons for becoming genin, any famous shinobi they look up to, their favorite jutsu they know, etc.
Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru attempted to answer everything the merchant asked. They found themselves overwhelmed by the man's multiple questions. He talks way too much. Naruto noted, unaware of the irony that he was complaining about someone else talking too much. No, I changed my mind. This guy is a pain, just not in the way I expected. Shikamaru mentally grumbled. Despite the internal complaining, the questions continued throughout the rest of the day. They only stopped when the group stopped traveling for the day and could sleep for the night. The genin members were all grateful that Anko was taking first watch, as they wanted to sleep and get some time to relax and sleep after the long question session they went through. Day 2 of traveling began shortly after everyone got up. After a small breakfast that Anko prepared from the supplies she brought, Team 3 and their client were off again towards the Tenchi Bridge. Time passed by. Yen continued to chatter with the 4 shinobi in his presence, asking them even more questions about Konoha and being shinobi. After a few hours of walking, the group noticed that a young man was walking down the path going the opposite direction. He gave a wave to the group walking, but seemed to pay special attention to Yen. His eyes were focused on the merchant. Anko noticed this and immediately readied a kunai. When the group finally passed the man, he made a signal with his hands. At that moment, 10 more men jumped out of the forest, each holding axes. All men charged at the traveling group. Ah! Yen gasped in surprise, almost falling to the ground in shock. As if on cue, the man was surrounded on all sides by the members of Team 3. Stay calm, we'll handle this. They're just common bandits. Anko informed him as she tossed one of her kunai knives. It landed directly in the temple of one of the bandits, killing him instantly. Naruto, Hinata, Shikamaru, defend your client by any means necessary. The 3 genin nodded and immediately went to work. Naruto used the futon, great breakthrough, to blow away 2 of the incoming bandits. They flew backwards into the forest again, hitting their heads against trees and knocking themselves out. Hinata activated her Byakugan and attacked the chakra network of 2 incoming bandits. Considering the little amount of chakra they possessed, the 2 men passed out from chakra exhaustion immediately. Shikamaru activated his shadow possession jutsu, freezing 2 incoming bandits. He dropped the hole just before Anko tossed 2 kunai at them, killing them. The remaining bandits were handled by Anko, who hit them directly into their heads and killed them all instantly. The young man who signaled for the attack was the only one not unconscious or dead. I always find it funny when bandits like you think you can take on shinobi just because you outnumber them. Face it, you made a serious mistake in judgment when you attacked us. Anko told him with a grin as she walked towards him, a kunai raised. Why you shinobi are so cocky? The man blurted out in a mix of anger and fear. Just you wait. Our remaining men will find you. They're waiting out in the forest later on and they'll kill you all. Oh really? Doubt they'll be much of a threat. But thanks for warning us about your friends and their sneak attack. You're a smart one. The purple-haired Tokubetsu Jonin laughed. As a reward, you'll get a painless death. The sensei of Team 3 immediately tossed her kunai at the man's head. It connected and death came instantly. Is it as safe? Yen mumbled nervously, still in shock from the attack. For now, yeah. Unfortunately, the guy said there were more weakling bandits. They won't be much of a challenge, but they'll be annoying. Anko noted with a sigh. She then turned to Hinata. Do you think you can spot them from here? Hinata focused her vision further along the path they were heading. As she looked further, she saw 3 bandits hiding in trees a little less than a kilometer away. If you can see them, mind taking them out for me? The woman asked. The Hyuga heiress nodded as she took out her bow and arrow set from her backpack. She readied an arrow, aimed and fired. The arrow hit one of the bandits straight in the neck. The man, who was sitting in a tree, gasped in pain and fell off of it in shock. His head hit the ground hard, killing him. The other two bandits looked at the sight in shock and immediately fled, in fear of dying as well. There were 3 bandits. IF fired an arrow and killed one. The other 2 fled immediately after. Hinata reported to her sensei. "Oh, thank you. Thank you all so much. I knew there was a reason I needed to request shinobi company. You all saved my life." Yen informed them gratefully. Hinata was about to smile back when the reality of what just happened occurred to her. The girl had just fired an arrow and killed a man. She had just killed someone. She had just made her first kill. Anko, Shikamaru, and Naruto accepted the praise and smiled in response. Hinata, however, started to shake in response. She remained quiet as she started to stare at the ground. "Hinata? Hinata-chan? Are you okay?" Naruto asked. Hinata didn't say anything. She just continued to stare downward. "Hinata?" the blonde asked, his concern growing even more. Okay, team, let's make a move on. Time's wasting." Anko informed everyone, interrupting the boys' questioning. Hinata was the first to start walking forward, with Yen and Shikamaru following closely behind. Naruto and Anko carried up the rear, as Anko decided she needed to talk to the boy. "Naruto, I know you care for her, but let her be for a little bit," she told him. "Huh? Why? She's not feeling good at all. She needs some help." Naruto informed her, irritated that his sensei didn't want him to help his friend. "Naruto, I know what's wrong with her. I've seen that face before. Hell, I remember when I had it. She just made her first kill." Anko explained with sad, understanding look on her face. Taking a life for the first time is never easy. She's probably beginning to have a lot of mental and emotional pain. "Well, what can we do to help?" Naruto asks, feeling even more concerned for Hinata. "Nothing for now," the Tokubetsu Jonin stated sharply. "Don't force the issue on her, and make her talk when she's not ready for it. It'll just hurt her more. Let her try and come to grips on her own. The most effective thing you can do is give her the space she needs for now and, when she decides she wants to talk, to be her friend and talk to her." Naruto stood in silence for a while, thinking about the situation. He had yet to make his own first kill, so he didn't fully understand what exactly Hinata was feeling. He could only imagine the feeling. He wanted to help his friend out badly, but he couldn't think of an exact way to do that. "Fine. I'll wait for her to talk about it," the boy sighed. "In the meantime, I'll try and think of a way to help or something to say. And I'll just be her friend. Whatever I can do to help her feel better." The purple-haired woman gave a sincere smile at her student's words. "She'll probably talk to you soon. You mean a lot to her. Just be her friend." With those words, the conversation was dropped. Naruto and Anko hurried up to the group traveling with them. Silence filled the group, even Yin wasn't talking. Everyone remained in their own thoughts. Naruto, especially, spent his time thinking. "I'll figure out what to say. Hinata, I'll help you," he mentally promised to his distraught friend. After a few more hours, the group set up camp again. Anko had the first watch as her students slept until their turn. Or tried to sleep. Hinata stayed up all night until her turn, just staring blankly into space. And Naruto-kun? Naruto woke up from his sleep with a loud yawn. He brushed off his tiredness as quickly as he could and turned to look at the source of his wake-up call, Hinata. It's your turn to do watch," the girl informed him quietly. Naruto noticed Hinata revert back to her excessive stuttering and frowned. He wanted to do something to help her, but he remembered his sensei's words from earlier. "Okay. Thanks, Hinata-chan," he told her politely as he got up from his sleeping bag and started to look around for any possible threats. The Uzumaki genin continued his watch for a few minutes until he noticed that Hinata had never laid back down asleep. She remained standing, just staring at him, as if she was debating something within her head. Naruto realized something then and there. Does she want to talk? The boy made the hand signs for his shadow clones, who started to perform his duties of keeping watch. He then walked over to his friend. Hinata-chan? He asked quietly. And Naruto-kun? She responded back, hesitantly. You okay, Hinata-chan? What you still doing up? He asked. Naruto felt he needed to make sure she really did want to talk. He really didn't want to hurt her or make her feel worse than she already did. I'm having tea trouble sleeping. She mumbled. I. Hinata couldn't continue with whatever she wanted to say. Her tears were starting to come back. She immediately grabbed onto the nearby Naruto and pulled him closer to her as if he was her life support. She then started to cry hard into his jumpsuit. As if by instinct, Naruto hugged the girl tight against him. He started to rub his hand on Hinata's back in an attempt to calm her down. He didn't say anything. She just has to get it all out. She has to let go of all her tears. The two stayed in that position, with no sounds made except for Hinata's crying. After about 20 to 30 minutes, Hinata started to calm down and stopped crying. Sorry, for that. Hinata apologized. Don't apologize for anything, Hinata. You can talk to me. You shouldn't be afraid to show your emotions to me. Naruto informed her, still rubbing her back. If anyone should be sorry, then it's me. I'm sorry about what happened. Don't be. The girl sniffed. I shouldn't be either. Weary ninja. This is what we do. It's just. Hinata, although we are ninja, we are also human. It's only natural to feel this way about, yeah. Naruto replied. He didn't want to outright mention the word killing. It's just, that man had a family. He had a life. And I ended it. Hinata continued to sniffle, tears starting to form again. Hinata, that man would have tried to kill Yen. He has a family too and a life. You helped keep our client alive. The blonde stated. He moved his hand away from her back and wiped away some of the tears away. You helped save a life. Hinata's sniffling died down. The girl still looked troubled though. Naruto gave it a little more thought before he spoke again. We are ninja. We may have to kill people in our line of duty, but we do so to protect others. It could be clients, civilians, our teammates, even each other. We fight to protect everyone around us. He stated sincerely, giving off a smile. Hinata, you were strong. You stepped up and helped protect our client. You are a true ninja and someone I'm glad to call my teammate and friend. The Hyuga heiress's troubled look seemed to completely vanish. She looked over at her crush in complete awe at everything he had just told her. Naruto-kun, you never cease to amaze me, you really are a one-of-a-kind. She thought to herself, a blush starting to form on her face again. A smile soon joined that blush as she brushed any remaining tears. Naruto-kun, thank you. Thank you for everything. I don't know what I would do without you. The girl told him. Her tone of voice was much more relaxed, and much more happy. It's no problem at all, Hinata. I know you do the same for me. And I have no idea what I would do without you. Naruto replied back with a grin. He gave her one last squeeze before he let go from the hug. Hinata significantly reddened, finally noticing that she had been hugging Naruto for quite some time now. She was about to say something, but her words died when she found herself yawning. Looks like you're tired. Naruto pointed out with a more playful smile. Yeah, I am. Sleep would be nice. Hinata thought tiredly. Get some sleep, Hinata-chan, I'll see you tomorrow, okay? The blonde told her. Oh, okay. Hinata replied. She then, pushed to action by instinct, walked over to her crush and gave him a hug. Good night, Naruto-kun. Thank you so much for everything. You really helped me feel better. The girl then went back to her sleeping bag, leaving a slightly blushing blonde behind. Naruto eventually shook off the blush, gained a large smile on his face, and went back to his watch duties with his clones. He was relieved that his friend was feeling better and back to normal again. Hinata, herself, laid down within her sleeping bag. For the first time in the past few hours, she was smiling. She found it rather easy to sleep. 3 more days passed by. They had finally reached Kusa no Kuni, but were no done with their mission. The group continued to travel on the road. Their journey didn't end until they reached a medium-sized arch bridge that crossed a giant ravine. There's the Tenchi Bridge. Anko told the group, excitedly. You ninja are truly extraordinary. Thank you so much for your assistance. Yen praised the Konoha shinobi happily. It's no problem at all. Hinata bowed in acceptance. She then took a close look at the bridge herself and saw figures standing in front of the bridge. We aren't alone. There are a few other people there at the bridge. Most likely the IWA team. Shikamaru noted. Naruto groaned at this realization. The moment was finally here. They were about to meet the team from IWA. They were about to meet the group of ninja that were enemies to Konoha, shinobi from the village that fought and killed many Konoha ninja in the Third Great Shinobi World War. Naruto remembered all the stories he had heard about IWA ninjas from the academy teachers and the older orphans who lost their parents in the war. The boy remembered every horrific crime that he heard they performed. He was not excited at all for this encounter. The group continued their approach closer to the bridge. As they arrived, the figures were easier to identify. There were 3 of them standing in front of the bridge, and they were indeed IWA ninja, as identified by their 4 head protectors tied on their heads. The first one was a short, brown-haired boy with sunglasses on. He had on a camouflage-colored jacket and was wearing brown cargo shorts. The boy seemed to come off rather plain, and seemed to almost blend in the area around him. The second figure was a tall boy with green eyes and black hair that went down to his back. The boy was wearing black pants and a tight-fit red-black shirt that showed off his muscular build. He also had a scabbard attached to his pants, a sword sticking out of it. The final figure was a girl with short black hair and pink eyes. She was wearing a red shirt that lacked her right sleeve underneath a brown jacket. She also had on fishnet tights underneath a red skirt. The girl was the first of the 3 IWA genin to see the approaching Konoha shinobi. She immediately put on a slight scowl as she rushed over to them. Her teammates followed right behind to meet the Konoha shinobi. About time you guys got here. We've been waiting for a while. She informed them, her skull turning more into a frown as she thought about how long she was there. Well, sorry, we had to make sure we got our client here safe. You know, since that's the point of the mission. Naruto pointed out to her, giving her a scowl of her own. Of course it is. We know that, you idiot. She replied. However, you obviously didn't do that good of a job if you ended up taking this long to get here. Kuratsuchi, save your breath. The Konoha Baka probably thought they were making good time. The sunglasses-wearing IWA ninja informed her with a laugh. What did you say, punk? Naruto shouted, turning his attention to the boy who just spoke. Roto was just saying the truth, Konoha shinobi. The sword-carrying ninja informed him, emphasizing the words Konoha shinobi as if it was venom. Naruto, calm down. Don't start anything. Shikamaru informed his friend sharply before he snapped at the IWA ninjas anymore. Naruto fumed inwardly, glaring at the IWA genin. He had many things he wanted to say to these 3, but he knew that saying any more could maybe ruin the mission. This would ruin any chances of this mission creating peace between Konoha and IWA. Listen to him, he seems like the smart one in the bunch. Not that it means anything truly special to be smart in Konoha. The sword-carrying IWA ninja told Naruto. While I don't mind a little joking, the Konoha ninja is right. That means you shouldn't antagonize them either, Risho. Kuratsuchi informed him sharply. Silence seemed to fill the area. The two IWA male genin, Roto and Risho, were glaring at the Konoha genin. Naruto was glaring back. Kuratsuchi and Shikamaru were looking annoyed by the situation. Hinata and Yen were standing off to the side awkwardly. The Hyuga heiress and the Tsuchi no Kuni merchant were trying to think of something they could do to diffuse the tension. The ice was broken by Anko, who decided she didn't like the awkward silence. Name's Mitarashi Anko, and this is my genin squad. We were assigned the mission of delivering the merchant, Yen, to an IWA team. I need to clarify that you guys are the team we are handing Yen off to. Do you guys have this scroll? She asked as she pulled out the mission scroll, containing Yen's request of escort. The name's Kuratsuchi. I'm a genin of IWA. These are my teammates, Kuragain Risho and Yowamushi Roto. We are the genin team assigned to pick up Yen. Kuratsuchi greeted the Tokubetsu Jonin. As for the scroll, our sensei has it. Roto informed her, slightly nervous. He seemed to be trying to show more respect to a Konoha sensei, considering she was probably tougher than him. Well, where is your sensei? Naruto asked, slightly out of curiosity. He has more important duties than dealing with you worthless Konoha shinobi. Risho answered sharply. Risho. What did I just say? Kuratsuchi informed him sharply. Worthless? Who are you calling worthless, IWA scum? Naruto fired back. He was starting to get fed up with the remarks, and was very close to reacting against his better judgment if they continued. Naruto soon found himself face to face with the sharp glare of the IWA female. Kuratsuchi was now in front of him with cold eyes focused on him. IWA scum? She hissed. I'll keep my fellow teammates in line, but you should keep yourself quiet as well. Don't ever speak that way about my village. Wait. Kuratsuchi started to study the blonde more closely as she was now in his face. He looks just like the Yondaime Hokage. Is he? No. Why is she staring at me like that? Am I some meat to her or something? Naruto wondered, his skull getting even larger. Damn it. Things aren't going good. Anko cursed, looking at the situation. I can feel the tension between them. We can't have any conflict happen. I have to do something. The snake summoner was about to intervene and try and quell the tension when she was stopped. A new figure jumped in between Naruto and Kuratsuchi, pushing them both back away from each. The new figure was a man wearing red-plated armor that covered nearly his entire body. A furnace was attached to the back of his armor and appeared to be letting out steam each second. Over his armor, he was wearing a black gi and had on black gloves over his hands. There was cloth that covered his mouth and the side of his head, and he was also wearing a red straw hat. Anko gasped at the sight of the man. Wait, he's the Jonin sensei. Well, fuck. I didn't even know he was still an IWA ninja. Kuratsuchi, Risho, Roto, I thought you would not antagonize the Konoha shinobi. We wouldn't want to do anything to displease Tsuchikage-sama, would we? The man asked his students. His voice was notably cold and distant. And no. And not at all as sensei. Roto stammered nervously, bowing his head in shame. He was actually starting to shake under his sensei's hard stare. No. Kuratsuchi simply replied. She looked saddened as she stared into her sensei's eyes. Eventually, she turned over to the Konoha shinobi and bowed. I shouldn't have let my temper got the best of me. Forgive me. Naruto was taken aback by this. He found himself unconsciously doing the same thing. It's fine. I was out of line myself. Sorry. The blonde then turned his attention over to the armor-wearing IWA ninja. Naruto was staring at him in complete surprise. The man managed to push him and Kuratsuchi away from each other without them even realizing he was approaching. His very presence also seemed to create fear in his students. Just how strong can this guy be? But that wasn't all the Konoha Jinchuriki noticed. He also noticed the man's light brown eyes. In a way, they reminded him a little of his own, only his were more hardened, cold, and distant. Still, he saw the same pain and loneliness in them. The man noticed Naruto's gaze and stared back. He broke the silence after a few more seconds of staring. Anyway, allow me to introduce myself. I am the IWA Jonin in charge of these genin. My name is Han. The man informed everyone. Omake, teach me that jutsu. Day 3 of traveling was unusually quiet for the group. Unlike the previous 2 days, Yin was not chatting with the Konoha shinobi. He seemed deep in thought while on the road. After an hour of silence from the client, the members of Team 3 started to feel uncomfortable. They were starting to wonder if there was something upsetting the man. Anko, surprisingly, was the one to finally address the issue. Hey, Yen-san. Are you okay? She asked her client with concern in her voice. Oh, I'm fine. No need to worry. Just thinking about something. Yen dismissed her worries with a smile. Actually, may I ask a question? All of Anko's concern went away and was replaced with a feeling of dread. The sensei nodded hesitantly in response. Is it possible that you could teach me how to do some ninjutsu? The merchant asked. Anko's eyes widened in response. Her genin, who were listening, were equally surprised. Nobody had expected this request from their client. They started at their client, waiting for him to elaborate. I was thinking about it since the attack yesterday. If it weren't for you all, I would be dead. So, I was thinking, I should learn how to perform ninjutsu, so that way I can defend myself if I need to. Yen explained. A mental image appeared inside the merchant's head. He saw himself as a skinner, more muscular man with a forehead protector on that had the symbol for Rio on it. He pictured himself surrounded by bandits, who were about to strike at him with knives. The yen he pictured jumped up before they could attack, and made necessary hand signs. He then unleashed a massive blast of wind that blew all the bandits away to unknown territory far away. Yen laughed excitedly at the mental image. I guess it's possible. I mean, anyone can become a ninja with training after all. Anko shrugged. But well, Hinata, how much chakra does he have? Hinata activated her Byakugan and stared at Yen for a while. She then frowned, not looking forward to explaining her discovery. He does have some chakra. But he has a really small amount. And not enough to do most ninjutsu. Hinata said quietly. Her stutter worsened, knowing that Yen was not going to like her answer. The merchant frowned in response. But aren't there ways to improve one's chakra capacity? That's what I understood from our previous conversations. Maybe you all could help me work on chakra exercises. I could then teach myself various jutsu. Well, I guess. Why not? Anko mumbled, not really looking forward to the idea. Ooh. I know a jutsu he can learn. Naruto stated excitedly. I have a jutsu doesn't take any chakra at all really. And it would take down anybody that tried to attack Databeo. Really? You know a low chakra style jutsu? Anko asked, incredulously. What one? Why haven't you used it before or said anything about it? Well, Whiskers, show it to us. Oh God, I think I know what it is. Shikamaru groaned inwardly. He had a feeling he knew exactly what jutsu his friend was going to show. Naruto smirked at his sensei's request and made a hand sign.
Transform. Smoke then appeared, covering his body. Transformation? Really? I know it doesn't take much chakra, but that's lame. Anko complained mentally. The smoke dispersed itself. Naruto was no longer in sight. In his place, a fully nude woman stood there, posing in a provocative manner. A few smoke clouds remained, covering her assets, but that didn't change the fact that they could see everything else. I knew it. Shikamaru grumbled as he tried to fight his nosebleed. Naruto-kun. Hinata frowned and blushed in embarrassment at her crush's antics. He may have been her hero inspiration and crush, but that did not mean she had to like this jutsu of his. Why do you know this? Anko and Yin made no comments. They merely stared in surprise. Anko broke from her stupor first and immediately smacked Naruto across the head. The impact Naruto's transformation away. He groaned in pain, which only got louder when Anko smacked him again. First time was for using such a stupid jutsu. Why the hell do you know that shit? The second time was for using such a jutsu in front of our client. Anko shouted. Ah. Naruto grumbled in pain. Anko then turned her attention to Shikamaru, who she smacked across the head as well. Ah. He hissed, grabbing his head. What the hell did I do? Nosebleed. You stared for too long and enjoyed what you saw. The Tokubetsu Jonin deadpanned. She then smacked him a second time. Second time for talking back to me. Shikamaru grumbled about troublesome woman while rubbing his head in pain. Anko didn't really pay attention, as she turned back to face Yen. I'm terribly sorry for my student's jutsu. It was completely inappropriate and I hope that it doesn't change your view on us in Konoha. Yen still had a surprised face on. A minute after Anko's apology, his face shifted to a more neutral face. Naruto-sama. He began. His face then shifted into a perverted grin. You've given me more reason to want to learn ninjutsu. Anko blinked in surprise. Part of the reason she was upset with Naruto was because she was afraid his jutsu would make Konoha look inappropriate to their client. To see such a reaction surprised her, but not in a good way. The woman started to scowl and smacked the client across the head as well. He grabbed his head in pain as well, joining the other two males. Perverts. All of you. She snapped. You know, we are taking a small 5-minute break. Heal your pain, or whatever. I don't care. Just you guys don't bother me right now. Hinata, you come with me though. Eh? Why? The Hyuga questioned. Because I can at least tolerate your presence right now. Now hurry up and follow me. Her sensei responded. Hinata nodded hesitantly before following her sensei into the woods. Anko continued to storm off for a second, still very irritated at the jutsu and the other guy's reaction. However, there was a small thought running through her mind. She would never in a million years admit to it, but she couldn't help but think it. You know, I have to admit it, Whiskers did make a pretty sexy chick. I wonder what the guy version of that would like. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.